Joining us now, Kurt Lofquist. Kurt is the director of Concerned Veterans for America in Virginia. He's also a veteran, been on my show many times, fighting a good fight. And Kurt, good to have you with us, man.
Morning, John. How are you?
Super, because Trump won and the Republic is saved. So why wouldn't I be in a great mood, right? Things are going great. Now, Kurt, I want you to talk about this other crazy thing going on, the Veterans First Act. This is another thing under the radar screen. Nobody's talking about it, right? They're going to try to slip it in. Expound on this. Tell our audience, Kurt Lofquist, what on earth is the Veterans First Act and what does it mean?
Well, first, John, it's obviously an excellent title. Anybody who's going to hear the Veterans First Act is automatically going to think that this bill is putting veterans first. But you dig deeper into it, and you're going to see a lot of the stuff that we've talked about over the past. It's been slipped into this bill. It's still going to be hard for bad employees to get fired. They're keeping something called the Merit Systems Protection Board, which we're talking at least 120 days for an appeals process. It could take longer while these bad employees are on paid administrative leave while they're figuring out if they're going to fire them or not. This is the same board that protected Diana Rubens and Kim Graves. Those were the two VA employees who gamed the system to get themselves higher paying jobs within the system. They were gone. They were out. And this Merit Systems Protection Board said, nope, never mind. They did bad. They know they're wrong, so we're just going to go ahead and put them right back in and get their full pay.
Unbelievable.
And there's a whole bunch of other stuff in here. I mean, it's creating even more red tape. They're creating more boards. They're creating more reports. They're creating more admin positions. That's just going to make it harder for the veteran to get the service that they need because they're going to have to go through that many more hoops. And it also, astoundingly, removes the caps on bonuses that VA employees receive each year. And as we've talked about before, VA employees are getting records amount of bonuses, and what do they have to show for it? I mean, they're saying they're doing a great job, but veterans still can't get the care that they need. They're still not getting seen in a timely manner, and now this act removes the caps on those bonuses. So it's like this does nothing but put Washington bureaucracy first. It does not put veterans first. So that's why we're opposing it.
So CVA is opposing, just so everybody knows, Concerned Veterans for America is opposing this Veterans First Act because it's just more of the same, protecting the bureaucracy that has failed veterans in this country miserably within the VA. So it's a false name. It's like the Affordable Care Act, all right? There was nothing affordable about it. And so there's nothing about this bill putting veterans first. Who's sponsoring this? Who are the key people behind it?
Actually, strangely enough, there is both a Republican and Democratic support on this, just because it has a good sounding name, and people love hearing that veterans in the title, and they automatically assume it's going to be good for it. It was introduced into the Senate by Senator Johnny Isakson in May of 2016.
All right. So Senator Isakson, Republican, somewhat conservative, from Georgia. Now, a lot of military presence in Georgia. So what was Isakson's thinking here?
So I imagine that this bill started with good intentions. I don't think anybody writes a bill like this starting out saying, hey, let's go ahead and protect the bureaucrats from accountability for their actions. But as you know, a bill gets introduced, backroom deals start, people start putting in riders, people start putting in amendments. One of the big things that happened is originally this bill didn't have had an amendment in there to cap those bonuses and to really bring them down to a better level. But at the last minute, behind closed doors, they removed that amendment and made it so that the cap for bonuses is going to take away. And so this is an example of I'm sure this started out as good legislation, but through the Washington process, they tweaked it and tuned it to make this monstrosity of a bill that just does not help veterans. It only helps government employees.
So we should unequivocally oppose the Veterans First Act and that's the position of Concerned Veterans for America, right?
Absolutely. And it's not that we're going to say, hey, don't support this. It's not a good bill and then walk away. There's actually a good alternative out there that Senator Rubio introduced. It's called the VA Accountability First and Appeals Modernization Act. The House version passed with bipartisan support. So this is just, a Senate version of that. And it addresses a lot of the issues that we harp on a daily basis. It handles getting rid of the red tape to firing bad employees. It addresses the bonuses. It does what needs to be done so that veterans are getting service at the Veterans Administration.
Makes a lot of sense to me. So what's the call to action? What would you like my listeners to do in order to influence this legislation?
So right now we're on a pretty heavy campaign across the country, calling into the lame duck session of Congress and the Senate and letting them know, oppose the Veterans First Act. It's a bad bill. There are better alternatives out there that actually do what we're trying to do. We're encouraging everybody within listening range, please call your congressman, call your senator. Let them know that this bill needs to be opposed and that they shouldn't use the lame duck session in Congress as an excuse to let bad legislation pass for their friends in government. They're still representative of the people, and the more people we can have heard that they know this is a bad bill, the more chance we have to get this bill killed and get a better alternative on the table.
Okay, so you'd like our listeners to call, in Virginia, right, call Senator Warner and Senator Kane's office, right?
Absolutely.
All right, or email them. So what you want to do is...
Email them, snail mail, go visit their constituent offices, smoke signals,
whatever
laser light shows, whatever they can do to get their attention.
So Senator Warner, by the way, just named vice chair of the Senate Intel Committee. Great opportunity for him. Senator Tim Kaine, now back in the Senate, which is a good thing. Let's email them. Let's call their offices. Let's do whatever you can and say that the VA Veterans First Act.
First Act.
Yeah, Veterans First Act is poppycock. It's not going to serve our veterans. It's just bureaucratic protection, and urge both senators to vote no. Right?
Absolutely. Nail on the head.
All right. Now, does CVA have a preferred candidate for director chairman of the Veterans Administration? Because obviously McDonald has got to go. He's been a disaster.
We don't have a preferred candidate on the table yet. Obviously, what we want to see is when you're installing a secretary of the Veterans Administration, we want to see the opposite of what's been happening. We want to see strong leadership. We want to see someone who's going to hold bad employees accountable. We want to see someone who's going to put veterans' needs first. So as long as the candidate put forward meets those requirements, I'm sure that they'll do a great job. But
it's tough though, Kurt, because let's go back to the appointment of Secretary McDonald, right? I mean, a lot of us thought, okay, good move, right? The guy was a CEO. He was a CEO in the private sector. He was a decorated veteran. He was a general. We said, okay, here's a good choice. Here's a guy that's going to go and shake things up. He's been there, done that. All the people have served under him. He's got managerial ability. Obviously, he was a chief executive officer in the private sector. And the guy wasn't in there 5 days, and he started defending the status quo and became a disaster. So, but on paper, right? Remember, on paper, we were like, okay, this seems to be a pretty good choice. So that's the fear, is you put these people in, and they immediately become part of the bureaucracy. They basically live in the swamp, right? They become part of the bureaucracy that they were put in to break up.
You bet. I mean, we had high hopes for Secretary McDonald, and they just didn't come to fruition. And like you said, he looks great on paper. But now we've seen time and time again, there's a lot of people who look great on paper who just don't follow through with the promise that they have. So looking at any candidate for that seat, you got to look at their past actions. What have they done in the past? What have they proved that they're going to do? So that's going to be a big factor in it. It also comes down to leadership at all levels. The current administration hasn't exactly shown that they're going to lead from the front on any of these issues. So we've got a new president-elect putting together his cabinet right now. We're optimistic that he's going to appoint the right people. He said the right things on the campaign for the most part, but again, we've got to see the action. We're not going to blanket endorse somebody. We're not going to blanket say that something's good. We have to see the action. Just because you've said the right things, now it's time to put the money where the mouth is. So we'll be looking at it very closely, and we've got high hopes that this might be a good turning point.
That's what we need. We need some action because we can't continue. This thing cannot continue on as it is. And, we've had this conversation. It's deja vu all over again. Nothing happens. Looks like the Isaacson, and of course, too, Johnny Isaacson up for re-election in Georgia, looking for something to appeal to the veterans in his state. A lot of veterans in Georgia. I lived there for 3 decades. So, this looks to me like just another political ploy to help win votes. It's a terrible bill. Let's oppose that and go from there and hopefully get a secretary in there that is actually going to be committed to the veterans and their needs and not the bureaucracy and the employees of the VA that have been incompetent, that many of them have been corrupt. They're protected. The whole thing is a disaster. It's going to take somebody to have to go in there and clean house. And if they're looking for positive press in the New York Times, it's going to be the wrong guy or gal. No question. Right?
Absolutely. I'm honestly looking forward to stop having the talks with you about how screwed up the VA is.
I know.
And you and I can start talking about how great the VA has become.
I know, right? I know. It's like, how many times have we had the same conversation?
It's been a few. It's been quite a few, unfortunately.
It's been way too many. All right, man. I want to thank Kurt Lofquist for being with us. You've got your call to action. The VA First Act, Veterans First Act, a disaster. Mark Warner and Tim Kaine, don't be shy. Call them out. Call their offices. Email them. Anything you want. Go to the constituents' offices. Say, this thing is just a bag of tricks. We need real reform at the VA. Good to have you with us. More information, go to cv4a.org, cv4a.org, and you can get more information there. Keep up on what CVA is doing and what Concerned Veterans for America can do for you as a veteran and in Virginia and all across the country. And Kurt, we look forward to when are you guys going to announce your Defend Freedom Tour 2017?
Still in the works right now, but you will definitely be the first to know.
I'm the first to know. I like to be with the in crowd. Now, you know that, Lofquist, right? I like to be in the know. So first to know, I like that. Thanks for being with us.